Hey everyone, this segment has a few different things going on. We have some missing 411 stories, and I read a story about an incident at a military base, kind of geared more towards Bigfoot and Sasquatch. If you like the paranormal and conspiracy topics, please think about checking out our podcast. It's free. The link is in the description. We do curse a little bit, so take that into consideration. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, Jeff, what do you have on tap for us tonight when it comes to paranormal and goofy, crazy, insane stuff?
I got two really interesting cases from Missing 411.
Love to hear it.
They come out of the Eastern United States, so it's one of his original books, probably I think it's his second book for the Missing 411 series. But this will kind of lead into, I think there's some overtones of Bigfoot here and also some other odd stuff. But so the first case is about a young boy. His name was Victor Dwight Shoemaker, but he went by JR. He disappeared in the 1st of May in 1994 in Augusta, West Virginia. He was 5 years old. And the town, or actually, it's Augusta, West Virginia, is an unincorporated community. It's in Hampshire County, which is, just to give you a reference, I'm not sure if this matters to anybody, but it's in the, that like panhandle of West Virginia, not where Wheeling is, but the other one that sticks out into Maryland.
Yep, love it. Been there.
It's in that most eastern county there, and it's apparently 40 miles west of Martinsburg, so I guess the closest, largest West Virginia city. So it's in the middle of nowhere, rural, very rural. Now, the Shoemaker family was going to visit their grandfather, who owns a decent amount of property near the Short Mountain Wildlife Area for a family reunion. And his property is obviously, it's in the isolated woods. It's only one way to get there in a very narrow, winding road. After the family arrived, JR went to go play with his cousins in the woods there.
JR, how old did you say he was, like 5?
5.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he's one of his other cousins, or I believe around his age. And apparently during these visits, JR and his cousins would always do this for a few hours before dinner was ready. So after several hours in the woods, JR told his cousins that he was hungry and he wanted to head back towards the grandfather's house. The other boys didn't think anything of it, and they returned home about an hour after JR said he was leaving. When they got back, he was not there, and his father went to immediately go look for him. Now, after the boy's father couldn't find him, in his initial search, so he contacted the state police. And within 2 hours there were dozens of police searching the area. But unfortunately, like we've seen here many times, only hours into the search, a freezing rainstorm moved into the area.
Of course. On clock. Right there.
Like clockwork.
Like clockwork.
So this search went on for 5 days, and it searched a 2.5-mile radius around the house area. And they even brought in a FLIR-equipped helicopter to search for the boy.
FLIR? Thermal imaging.
Yeah, correct. So about 3 days into the search, after he went missing, searchers had found an area where they believed the boys had slept. They found 3 rocks arranged in a triangle with a stick in the middle, and I guess near 3 sides of the rocks there were 3 logs placed.
Huh.
And it should be noted that the cousin relayed this info to the news. It was not. It wasn't the police or search and rescue. The cousin had brought this up to the news. News crew or the investigators, people come from the local press, and apparently this was a national story. This was from '94, so I don't really remember it, but apparently it was a worldwide story about this boy disappearing. But so the search continued through the 5th day, and nothing was turned up. And it should be noted here that there was ample fresh water in the area for him to survive on, and JR would have eventually hit a ranch or road if he had kept walking. Law enforcement interviewed both cousins of JR, JR's cousins, and they did not suspect foul play. When a news reporter asked one of the cousins what they believed happened, the one cousin stated somebody hiding behind a tree got up and grabbed him. And Bogey doesn't like it.
Bogey! No, Bogey's going crazy. Yeah. I'm gonna let him out of my room real quick.
Stop talking about it. All roads lead to Pizzagate. That's what Bogey just said.
What about walnut sauce? Oh, he's freaking out. Maybe he just wants to go out of the room, but I'll give Mike a second here to come back.
So what we have is a 5-year-old kid goes missing as he tries to head his way back to a family gathering, and they start to search for him, and one of the people who is testifying only to a news channel, not in the police report, says there were some symbolic weirdness happening.
They believed that he may have slept there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the weirdest statement given by one of the cousins, I'm not sure if Mike is back, but I'll just repeat it now. It said somebody hiding behind a tree got up and grabbed him, which is really weird. Given why would one...
Who's the him in that?
The cousin said this about JR, but they thought had happened to him.
Okay.
So I guess questions that are should be asked are, why would law enforcement say they did not suspect foul play if the cousin would have relayed this to them? Because as I had said earlier, they had both been interviewed by the police and they didn't suspect foul play.
Right.
And why was the search terminated after 5 days if they didn't suspect foul play and they only searched a radius of 2.5 miles? Now, where JR went missing was deep in the woods and isolated. It had been very tough for someone to get out of there, or to get out there and try to abduct him. Like, they would have had to known kids would have been out there. It's not like they're at a city park.
Yeah.
So in November 1994, a state investigator from the West Virginia State Bureau of Criminal Identification made a statement. There was no sign of foul play, but the state did ask the FBI to enter the investigation for assistance, which is really odd because the FBI has a formal policy that they do not assist in missing person cases. And why would the FBI get involved after 6 months into the case? What was triggered their interest? Could it have to do with maybe something in the statements the cousins had made? Could it be the disturbed stuff that they found in the woods?
Like they thought it was some kind of ritual?
I was thinking the same thing. I thought that there was some ritual thing. And then I was like, and I don't mean to tie it back, but like the Pizzagate thing, like, what if kids are going missing? Because we a lot of kids go missing, every year. What if they're just trying to add layers of complication? Like, do you remember the first episode of whatever? All right.
Sunny?
No, it was the detective series. True Detective.
Yeah. You remember that first series where it's like they never really solve what the hell's happening?
No, they found out who did it, but not why, really.
Or why, yeah. So what if they're just adding a layer of complexity to a child abduction to throw people off the case to say, well, look, they're abducting children, they're putting there's all these things happening, and so we're looking for that pattern. But no, it's actually just a bunch of people throwing random shit in there to throw people off the scent.
It's possible. This is... If you recall, during the missing 411 voicemail, the FBI got involved in that one too. They came in, took the tape, and
I believe they'll get involved if foul play is suspected. They'll get involved. I know they have a formal policy. If you just go missing and the police don't suspect foul play, they don't get involved.
But if you read David's books, if you've heard him talk about missing 411, there have been numerous incidences where the FBI does show up, and there have been career guys that have been following these missing persons cases, that the same exact ones that David Paulides talks about in his books. And they must know, they have to have a bigger clue or bigger idea of what's going on, and it's eating them up inside. That's what I suspect. I don't know that for sure, but they must have a pretty goddamn good idea of what's going on at this point and are either unable to stop it or choose to look the other way.
Now, this is very similar. You'll see how it kind of connects together, the cousin's statement and what I read in this case. It's pretty short, but it's a very good one, I think. It's from Pennsylvania. It's from Pleasantville, Pennsylvania. It happened on May 14th, 1950. It was about a boy named Jackie Copeland. He was 2 years old. Apparently, Jackie and his three sisters went into a picnic at an oil company's property outside of Pleasantville. The family was socializing with others. Apparently, it seemed like a company picnic. When Jackie's 7-year-old sister told their father that Jackie was gone. At 1 p.m., the family started to look for the boy and could not locate him. It was at that point that everyone at the picnic started to participate in the search for Jackie Copeland. In a very short period of time, the state police had arrived, and they called for a team of bloodhounds. The oil company called for additional volunteers to search until hundreds of people were there looking for the boy. It was evident by late in the evening that the bloodhounds could not pick up the scent, or they refused to search. One of the two, I guess. They could have said sometimes dogs refuse to search for whatever reasons. The ground searchers were not having luck finding the boy. At 8 a.m. the following morning of Jackie's disappearance, a man named Bevier, I'm not sure if that's his last name, but he was searching outside the main area in a location where the oil repressuring plant was located. The area was completely surrounded by what the newspaper articles at the time called impassable swamps. Mr. Bevere and a crew of searchers were walking through the swamps. He accidentally saw Jackie looking around the side of a tree, almost peering at him. Bevere called his name, and Jackie answered. Jackie was found over 2 miles from the picnic and across a swamp that was deemed impassable by search coordinators. So Jackie was transported to a local hospital where he was met with his family. After being examined by doctors, they said that the boy had a number of scratches, but he was in general good health. Now, from an article he has here said the Langsport Press, dated May 17, 1950, had an interview with the Copelands and heard Jackie's rendition of what occurred during this night in the woods. The press wanted to hear how the boy got to his location in the swamp and what he had to drink or eat and how he kept warm. Jackie was first asked why he left the picnic.
Well, first of all, maybe I missed this, but how old is Jackie?
2 years old.
2, okay.
So Jackie's first question he was asked by the press said, in his response to it, what he ate, drank, and how he kept warm. He said he saw something peering at him from behind a big tree. When he approached it, the creature scampered into the brush. Jackie didn't explain anything more about leaving the picnic at that point. The article later explained more of what Jackie stated. He recounted in Child Talk his adventure in an awful blackness, peopled by a great throbbing giant in a tall, friendly tree, and wild animals howling in the distance and unfamiliar shouts of strangers prowling nearby. Jackie Copeland's explanation of what occurred to him could be very well a sobering narrative for what might possibly be occurring to some of these other plus missile children. So I guess the big question here, the rest of this is played as his commentary, is what was that peering behind a tree and scampered off into the forest? And what was the other stuff that he saw? And now if we go back to the case of the J.R. Shoemaker, remember his cousin made a statement that was, quote, somebody hiding behind a tree got up and grabbed him.
Well, I have a wild theory.
Go for it.
Okay. My wild theory is, hey, look, I'll tell you what books I'm reading right now. I'm currently reading. What's that?
Catcher in the Rye?
No, not Catcher in the Rye, and not Playboy. But I'm reading Bizarre Encounters, and I also have the Field Guide to Extraterrestrials, now, along with a couple of other books in my Kindle. These are my physical books that I'm reading. My theory is that Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and UFOs and aliens are working together. And that story we did a few episodes ago, maybe last episode, the Bigfoot UFO encounter, that video's on YouTube. I believe that's actually somewhat true. If we're going to go down this bizarre theory, which is that I believe that Bigfoot can collect people, and then and they're collected and they're possibly taken at a later date by aliens or Bigfoot, or aliens or UFOs. We'll go ahead and call them UFOs. They're taken by UFOs. So not only does Bigfoot actually work as active security for UFOs, they actually collect things for them, and they must get some kind of reward in the end, depending on what they collect. And if it's no good, they let them go. Or if they get interrupted, they're let go. Or if the aliens don't want them, they're killed. I think the Sasquatch are the feet on the ground, and I think they're by and large. If they don't want you, if you're not in their kind of profile of what the aliens are looking for, you're good.
Okay, so I'm on board if you replace aliens and Bigfoot with child traffickers and high-ranking politicians.
And Bigfoot.
Maybe Bigfoot is in there.
I think that's definitely going on, what Joe said, of child trafficking. I mean, it obviously is. It's too blatant. It would be really naive to say, no, there's no high-ranking officials involved in this.
But then these child traffickers must have some really good stealth technology and transportation to get in and out of these environments quickly and quietly.
They've trained velociraptors to behave like dolphins, and they can escort children in their jaws gently.
I know that's you're far out there. I know you're poking a little fun at us, Joe. I get it. I like it. That's fine. I'll give you a little woo-woo for that.
Well, you want to woo-woo?
But I have to go down the Sasquatch. There's been reports and sightings of Bigfoot and UFOs. There haven't been reports of velociraptors in the woods.
Yeah, but you can't prove that they're not there.
That's true.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm doing the exact same thing that everybody on Reddit is doing about Pizzagate right now.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, well,
You think they have dinosaurs in the basement? They raping kids on the table with their customers that are there? I hate people so much.
you got anything more to that story, Jeff?
No, that was it. Those were the two interesting cases for Missing 411.
So, the one the story I have that kind of saddles up to this. This is from the book by Phantoms and Monsters, which is a pretty good website. You can go there. These are first-hand encounters of very weird encounters and sightings, and these are what people have written in and claimed that they have witnessed. And this is from the book Bizarre Encounters. Now, this is not about visiting rest stops on the highway. This is about people experiencing things in their daily lives.
There's nothing bizarre about rest stop encounters.
Oh, not the ones I go to.
Okay.
This one is possible Sasquatch incident on military base. In 2011, I was working at the Lewis McCord military base located south of Tacoma. I was employed at Public Works and assigned to the environmental department. I was part of a group conducting a study in the southern section of the base. There were several soldiers attached to the group for security. We had been out in the field all day and we're getting ready to head back to the lab. About 5:30 p.m., we heard a distress call from the radio, and one of the security attachments located in the north of our location. And then we heard gunshots coming from the same direction. The best I can describe the situation is that all hell broke loose. The civilians were hustled out of the area immediately. When we arrived back at the lab, we were told by the command that our department would be non-active until further notice. The next day, I received a phone call at home from a lady I worked with. She was wondering if I had heard anything. I told her that no one contacted me, but I was having dinner with friends who worked on the base. She seemed very concerned because no one was answering the calls at the base. That evening, I got together with the friends who worked in the other public works department at the base. At the time, there was no official information available, but there was a lot of rumors floating around. The most prevalent rumors was that of the security detail went off his rocker and started shooting at other personnel. We were all called back to work about a week later. We each were given a written statement that despite the rumors, the incident was a false alarm and that no one had discharged their firearms. We all rolled our eyes. Each one of us had heard gunshots and realized that the situation was more serious than the military was stating. A month or so later, I was collecting samples in the field and was accompanied by two soldiers for security. We were back in the general area of the mysterious incident. One of the soldiers mentioned that all the security people who were on duty that particular day were no longer with the division, which I thought was very odd. I asked if they had heard anything about the incident. With a straight face, he said something was shot after it scared a group of soldiers. I mentioned that I thought soldiers were not authorized to shoot wildlife. Both the soldiers snickered and agreed with my comment. I asked, what was it? They explained that they were never told what the something was, but there had been unconfirmed sightings of Sasquatch and other unknown man-like creatures in and around the base. This information didn't really surprise me since I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and was aware of the legend.
He's a man!
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all right. I just found that to be kind of curious.
Man-like creatures.
He's a man!
Yeah.
I'm a man.
Well, it kind of goes back that, there are missing 401 cases we talked about. David Plaitis obviously knows about. He writes about these things where the military, the Green Berets show up, or SWAT team show up. There's some kind of uniform outfit shows up after a disappearance. Now, here's an incident on a military base where it's very hush-hush. It seems like people in government know about what's going on with some of these weirder sightings. And They obviously can't control it, because if they could control it, they would put it down or monetize it in some way. That hasn't happened. They would put it like in some kind of zoo.
Right. Well, I get the impression that the alien thing, the Bigfoot thing, like we talked about the giants, and there's plenty of people who have talked about all the stuff that's hidden by the Smithsonian. Like, I feel like it's just whatever it is they're hiding, it's got to be so narrative shattering that they'll do like what they do with Pizzagate. They'll do anything to basically keep it from people, even people who are military personnel. I
would have to agree with you that it must, the real story of humanity and what's going on with anything. I don't know whether you believe in UFOs or not, or any conspiracies. There's probably something so bizarre going on that it is totally earth-shattering, not just faith-based, not just like a religious shattering, but probably economically in some way. There's been numerous dogmas that has been smashed. There's been changes of religion and belief systems that have changed over the years. So this one must be economic in some way. That it must be such a huge economic impact in some way that people won't be able to go to work. And then the economy will go bye-bye, and then anarchy will erupt, and then the ruling elite must be forced down into their bunkers. And then once everything is calmed down, they'll come back up in 100 years and rule over us Morlocks.
Hopefully.
That's positive.
And that's the best case scenario, people.
Well, honestly, I'm one of these people. I just want to warm my feet at the fire of the world as it all burns, just to see what happens, because, there's too many people who just don't pay attention to any of this stuff. I mean, we entertain some wacky ideas here.
Yes.
And I think that that's fun, because, honest to goodness, if you think that we're fake news and that the real news is real news, like CNN is more real than us, like, we're just looking at all the evidence and being there. I feel like we're pretty objective. Yes, we want to believe, we want to believe in UFOs. We want to believe in Bigfoots. And John Podesta wants to believe in UFOs, for Pete's sakes. He's Hillary Clinton, wasn't she bragging about, like, opening up the UFO files and all this stuff?
Yeah, Bill Clinton's a big fan of that stuff too.
Yeah, and Jimmy Kimmel and a lot of these talk show hosts, they all want to know. Like, we're all fascinated by this stuff. But anytime you ever get close to something that goes against the narrative, it's almost like, okay, well, we're not allowed to talk about that. So why don't you shut up?
Probably more has been written or said about our hot dogs than about any other in America.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Our hot dogs are legendary.
It is. It's kind of like, it's almost like the movie The Matrix in some way. Like, once you're close to figuring out that you're in a matrix, they're like, whoa, we're going to step in here real quick.
Exactly. I definitely believe that that's true. And I think the 411 cases are an example of that. I love the 411 cases. I think there's plenty of evidence with the UFO stuff to say, and David Seaman, who was doing these videos on the Pizzagate stuff, he says, when I was working in professional journalism, if we as journalists didn't agree with whatever was being posited in a book that was coming out, even if it was by a well-respected writer or author, we wouldn't combat the information that was coming out inside the book. We just wouldn't cover it at all.
Yeah, it would die and go away.
Yeah, you just forget about it, which is why he's so... which is why somebody who's been... His whole thing has been Bitcoin. I've been following this guy for 5 years, easily. 3 to 5 years. I don't even know how long he's been doing his thing, but I've been following him for a long time. He's been all about Bitcoin. He was a huge Democrat. He loved Obama. I've been following this guy, and I listen to everybody. And so for this guy to get fired from Huffington Post while questioning the Hillary's health thing, and then to go onto the Pizzagate thing and have his videos removed. I mean, this is what they do when there's actually something there. But for him to say that, the missing 401 stuff, does it get any press? No. Because they don't want you to look at it.
That's absolutely true. It's pretty disturbing stuff.
Do they want us to look at Pizzagate? Is there a trap?
Maybe.